Lean in. I remember the first time I heard Sheryl Sandberg utter those words about women being more ambitious in the workplace. The only thing I could think about was my creative writing course that I took at 8 a.m. my junior year of college. Our professor had asked us that morning to write a story about how we had gotten to class with vivid imagery. Mine went a little like this. After hitting the snooze button no less than 4 times, I awakened wearing the same clothes I had on from the day before. One glance at my alarm clock lets me know that I've woken up about 15 minutes late and I still have to get us both out the door. The thought enters my mind that maybe I don't have to take a shower. But then the very next thought in my mind is my mom's nagging words about being in the back of an ambulance with dirty drawers on. So I'm gonna get in the shower. It takes me about 15 minutes. I hurry up, get myself dressed, and now I've just gotta hope he hasn't peed the bed. I walk into my 2-year-old's room and tickle his little chin, and what do you know? He's peed the bed. But that doesn't stop me from waking him up the same way I always wake him up, which is by singing our Good Rising song. Good morning, hello and good morning, how are you? I love you, it's really nice to see you. I tickle his little chin, drag his little soggy butt into the bathroom. I wash him up, brush his teeth, and get his clothes on. By now, another glance at the clock lets me know that we have 15 minutes to get to the bus stop. Breakfast is going to have to be on the go. I grab his baby bag, which is always packed, a true testament to my full commitment to leaning in. I stuff some apple juice and a Pop-Tart in, and we've got to go. We walk as swiftly as we can to the bus stop, or as swiftly as one can, dragging a 2-year-old wearing a snowsuit. We get to the bus stop, and we board the bus. It's late. It's always late, so we're on time. And we board the bus, and we're accompanied by our usual group of Black women who all share the common denominator of being the sole breadwinners of their house. We make our descent out of the hood into downtown Pittsburgh. By the time we get there, it's about 7:05 a.m., and this is where the story gets interesting. I've got my book bag on my back, his baby bag on one arm, my purse on another arm. I grab the stroller with this arm, and with my other hand, I grab his hand. We begin to walk down the bus steps, and his leg gets stuck in the door. I yell, "Open the damn door, his leg is stuck!" The sweat is dripping down my temple because I'm so furious. But in that moment, I realize that I have 6 city blocks to walk to get down to the daycare, and I do not have time to argue with the bus driver. So I strap him into his stroller, make sure his legs are okay, and we haul ass down to the river. I get to the daycare, they buzz me in, and now it's time to do the one thing that I know every mom in this room is familiar with doing. I put on the mom face. You know that face. It's the face that lets every daycare worker know with no uncertainty that if anything happens to this kid while I'm gone, I'm going to at the very least break somebody's leg, and at the worst, this whole damn daycare's getting blown up. It takes about 15 minutes of eye-to-eye contact with every single person in the daycare to make sure everybody's on guard. And then I've got to give my baby kisses and hugs for at least 5 minutes. By now, it's about 7:40 a.m., and I've still got to get down to the school. I walk down to the school, 7:50, my stomach starts to grumble. 7:55, I'm in my seat. I'm tired. I'm hungry. I'm just plain old exhausted. But I made it to class. This was every day for 7 years. This is how I leaned in. So the first time that I heard Sheryl Sandberg say that women needed to lean in at the workplace, the only thing I could think about was, well, goddamn, how much farther in do black women need to lean? I mean, I was working a full-time job when that was going on. My mother has been working for the same company for 30 years. She's leaned in, leaned over, leaned backward, leaned forward, and whatever other way they wanted her to lean so she could keep a roof over our heads and food on the table. My aunt has been working for the same nonprofit for just about the same amount of time. She too has leaned in, leaned back, been demoted, been promoted, been laid off, and then brought back on. My cousin, who also dubbed as my childhood beautician, she has also been working for the bank for nearly 2 decades and has done the same thing my aunt and my mother have done. Historically, I don't know that black women have ever had the opportunity to consider what the opposite of leaning in might look like. And if Sheryl Sandberg had been thinking of us when she told women to lean in, she may have realized that we have been leaning in since the day we stepped foot off of Southern American plantations and out of Northern American kitchens. Black women have been the runners of the American nation. We've been 9 to 5, and since there's been 9 to 5 and to be done, we've been your frat cooks, we've been your customer service reps, we've been your nurses, we've been your child care workers, and everything in between. We have struggled with children in tow and one toe in poverty to grab degrees to help us to lean further in. Hence, our status as the most educated women in America, since we know that according to Census Bureau statistics, there are more black women on college campuses than any single demographic in America. Absolutely. But despite all this, educational and economic gains for black women do not equate to thriving black communities and thriving black families. In fact, despite black women gaining college degrees at a higher rate than everybody else, marriage still evades us. While we know that an educated woman is far more likely to go on to marry and sustain a one-way ticket out of poverty, this outcome is just not true for black women, as America continues its legacy of imprisoning black men at a higher rate than everybody else. Let's talk about communities. Our communities still lag behind everybody else's in terms of home ownership and economics. And in the one area where you would absolutely expect that black communities would gain from more black women being in college, hello, education? Nope, not there either. Black children still continue to lag behind everybody else in standardized tests. Black children still continue to have that achievement gap that gets wider and wider and wider. Black communities are no better off the day a woman graduates from college than they are the day before she goes to college. So what do we do about this? These are facts, not varsity, facts. Maybe black women should just wait. Maybe we should wait for America to end its legacy of imprisoning black men at a higher rate than it does everybody else. Maybe we should just wait for America to produce good enough teachers to come into our school districts and improve them. That's definitely a possibility. We could do that. But I think I have a better solution. The only problem is a lot of you might not like it. Black women do not need to lean in. Black women need to lean back. Now, I'll wait for the collective pearl clutch, because I know some of y'all are real tied to y'all jobs up in here. But the reality is, I think we need to consider this option a little bit more. You see, I was a woman after Sheryl Sandberg's own heart. But somebody came along and told me that maybe I should consider taking a more proactive role in my children's lives as well as in the lives of my family. And when she told me that, I kind of wanted to smack her. Because I thought to myself, do you know how hard I worked to get that degree, to get that job, to give up my goals of an endless bank account? But before you do what I did and rewind your mind back to the 40s and 50s and put a black face on the woman you see there barefoot and pregnant, I think we need to consider that woman's advice just a little bit more. You see, when I looked up, when I took that woman's advice and I realized that maybe it was time for me to take a little bit more of a proactive role in my family and in my community, I started to do a journey to do my part. I've seen my sons languishing and struggling in culturally incompetent and ineffective learning environments. I joined the PTA, and 1 year later, I pulled my sons out and I started homeschooling them. That alone was worth my newfound commitment to home, as I realized that now my sons could learn in an environment where they were loved and wanted and not disdained. And they could not only get an education that provided for them to be, capable in corporate America, but now they could get an education that provided for them to navigate the world as black men. And I looked up again, and I saw my community. It was crumbling. So rather than waiting around to be whisked away on the bus stop, at the bus stop of success, I started rehabbing a vacant lot in my neighborhood. I cleaned up garbage. I raked leaves. I fell in love with gardening. And I just made my community a better place to exist in. And those journalistic skills that I gained in college, those communication expertise that I got, it did not go to waste. I saw the moms that I used to ride the bus with downtown also struggling with mothering with intention and with care. And I started blogging about it. A few years later, that blog morphed into a support group for black moms that reaches nearly 2,000 mothers every week. We do things. We buy groceries for each other. Y'all gonna make me cry up in here. We buy bus passes for each other. We create community. They do. Those women y'all heard crying, they create community. And we do what we know we need to do for each other. See, the lean back movement, it is not about whisking women back to a time when they were barefoot and pregnant. It is about black women working alongside black men to use our collectively brilliant minds to create communities that our children can thrive in. It says in Mark 8:36, "For what shall it profit a man to gain the world?" It says in Mark 8:36, "For what shall it profit a man to gain the world but to forfeit his soul?" Well, America, we lose our souls when we give black mothers the singular choice of providing for their children or being good stewards of the communities they've been divinely placed in. We lose the soul of warm communities where children can become the problem solvers of their own neighborhoods and just ride their bikes without fear of being shot. Black mothers and fathers lose our souls when we neglect to take up the cross of finding out why the inner God in us bore us into this skin at this time of struggle and strife for black people in the neighborhoods that we grew up in. The beauty of the lean back movement is that it does not require that a woman negates the full expression of her mind or that we give up the creative work that we do with our hands. It just asks us to consider relocation. Relocate your abilities so that you can be a good steward of the communities that you've been divinely placed in. And to corporate, judicial, and nonprofit America, I say, you've had your time in the sun. How much more will you require of Black America? How much longer do we need to suckle your children before we can nourish our own? We ask not that you bear our burdens, but we ask that you do not obstruct our paths, and we will throw off our burdens as we run. And to my mamas, to my sisters, to the women who carry me here, I say to you, you can't serve two masters, sis. Choose you this day whom ye shall serve. Either we will continue to support the American systems and corporations who do very little to uplift our communities, or we will begin the work of building new realities for our children and birthing the communities of their dreams. So, in the words of Fat Joe, all I got to say is just lean back, lean back, lean back.
Come on, I said my niggas don't dance and just pull up a pants and do the rock away. Now lean back, lean back, lean back.